I'ma break your face, I'ma break your nose. I'm gonna fight till I can't no more. I'ma break your face, I'ma break your nose. I'm gonna fight till I can't no more. What is going on, full-time family? It is time to start the live show. We're going to be doing these every Monday and every Thursday consistently from here until who knows when. But yeah, man, got some stuff to talk about on today's show. We got some news. We got some fights this weekend. I want to talk about the full fight card on this show at the end of the show. We're going to talk about some things we've, did a video on this morning. One of them being Paulie Malignaggi spitting on Conor McGregor's mural, clout chasing at its finest. But we'll talk about that. See what you guys have to think about that. Also, Conor McGregor versus Donald Cerrone was talked about in the works, rumored, but of course, Cowboy's got to deal with Iaquinta first, so those talks were premature. So with that being said, Donald Cerrone's no longer chasing Conor McGregor. But if he wins this fight, it doesn't mean he won't, restart that chase. He won't, because right now the lightweight division's kind of tied up, and especially with him having a fight coming up, there's no reason to really talk about McGregor. As a matter of fact, all of this talk about Cowboy versus McGregor leading up to this Iaquinta fight kind of makes me wonder where Cowboy's head is at. We already know Jackson Wink has their whole split with, Team Cowboy versus Team Jackson Wink. I mean, he's doing his whole own thing at the BMF ranch. So now you're focusing on fighting Iaquinta with a fractured team. You got people talking about you versus McGregor. That's a lot of distractions leading into a fight with a very tough opponent, Iaquinta. But when it comes to the Conor McGregor fight, Cowboy Cerrone said the chase is over. It's done. I was like, yeah, I'm not going to wait. Let's go. So he took the fight with Iaquinta. Cowboy, he was ready to fight anyone, anytime, anywhere. He's definitely not the type to wait on a money fight. Like, no, I don't want to wait unless I get the McGregor fight. Oh, no. Cowboy will fight you in Canada against your favorite fighter or the best prospect. It doesn't matter. So we got that fight coming up this weekend, Cowboy versus Iaquinta, and Iaquinta has just been looking on a whole nother level lately to me. I mean, he's 5-1 in his last 6 fights, but just the performances in those fights, he's grown so much as a fighter. If you watch Iaquinta versus Masvidal, and then you watch Iaquinta versus Kevin Lee, those are two completely different fighters. He's way better now. So Iaquinta, I feel like, is entering his prime, taking on Cowboy Cerrone. So I cannot wait for this fight this weekend. Let's pull up the chat real quick. Get some shout outs. We got John Doe in the building, Mr. Perfect 2005. Leon Dubson, Tony Time. Hey, Tony Time. What's going on? Marcus Bell. I'm him. 247 sub full time fam. It's good to see y'all back. Yes, sir. What is going on, everybody? What you guys think about this weekend's fight, Iaquinta versus Cerrone? Who you guys got? Let me know in the chat. Also, I'm sure by now you guys have saw the video, but we're going to play this disgraceful video one last time. Paulie Malignaggi hocking a loogie. Paulie Malignaggi hocking a loogie on the mural of Conor McGregor ahead of his bare knuckle boxing fight with Artem Lobov. Here we go. Here goes nothing. It's almost not even worth watching, right? You're spitting on a fucking wall, dog. See what you did there.
Yo, what do you think about this?
This guy?
Yeah, this guy right here.
I just gotta stop it right there. We gotta break this down. Did you see him look over his shoulder before he spit? He had to make sure there were no fucking Irish goons about to bust his fucking head, shoot a double leg on him. He can't get up. Cameraman's a troll too, the way he laughed. But did you see the way he looked over his shoulder before he spit? Like, oh shit, let me make sure Conor's not about to fuck me up. He looked over his shoulder like he was scared before he spit.
Yo, what do you think about this?
Watch, watch, watch.
Yeah, this guy right here.
clout chasing at its finest. He knows what he's doing. He's trying to get McGregor to call him out on Twitter to help promote his fight, which in turn is going to help sell tickets and pay-per-views and put more money in his pocket. Paulie Malignaggi's not stupid. He's trying to invoke in some sort of Conor McGregor beef to promote his fight. But this is one of the, this is cowardice right here, and the way he did it, even right. You're spitting on a painting with no one from Conor McGregor's team around you, and you look over your shoulder just to double check. Like, hold on, before I actually spit, let me double check and make sure McGregor's not around. So Paulie Malignaggi, man, he's not getting over. I mean, of course he's got a little beef with Conor McGregor, but I really think he's trying to sell pay-per-views, sell tickets, get people talking about his fight, which is already it's gonna be a good fight. I mean, that rivalry is sort of there. It's not Conor McGregor stepping in the ring, but it's one of his best friends, his right-hand man, Artem Lobov, his punching bag, whatever you want to call him, the GOAT. That's who Paulie Malignaggi is stepping in there to fight. So you gotta imagine Conor's gonna be extremely interested to see how this fight plays out. And it's bare knuckle. I do also wonder how it's going to play out because Artem was just in a bare knuckle fight with Jason Knight. I don't know how Artem is healing up. I mean, I hope he's healed. He's going to need Superman healing. The fight is June 22nd. That's next month. It's gonna be pretty easy for Paulie Malignaggi to beat him up. Not for him to get him out of there, but to bust his face up. That's going to be pretty easy for Paulie Malignaggi, just thinking about the scar tissue and stuff, but still looking forward to the fight, and who knows, McGregor might fucking scale the cage, and it might be Malignaggi versus McGregor right after the conclusion of Malignaggi versus Lobov. No, that would be crazy, though. I'm sure he will be tuned in. I don't know if he'll be actually there. Might be another crowd brawl. Oh, fucking madness. That being said, we got a few more things to talk about on today's show before we talk about this weekend's fights. Greg Hardy's coach says the victim in his domestic violence incident would be dead if there was malice. Now, immediately that headline makes it sound worse, as my boy MMA Buds pointed out on Twitter. He was like, this just makes it worse. Even though if you pay attention to what he's saying, he's being honest. He's not bullshitting, and he's not trying to make it look worse. He's actually, if you know what the word malice means, which a lot of people are just going to see, would be dead. Oh, Greg Hardy said his coach said she would be dead. And they're literally going to leave the rest out. If there was malice, if you look up the definition of the word malice, you'll see what he's saying. It's like with evil, the intention or desire to do evil. If Greg Hardy was just being evil to his significant other, his fiance, his girlfriend, whoever she was in this incident, if he was actually trying to be evil and fucking hurt her, have you not seen Greg Hardy? Seriously, have you not seen this guy? He makes fucking heavyweights look like middleweights. He's huge. If he was really trying to hurt some fucking chick, some little model chick, whoever he was with, if he was trying to hurt her seriously and do evil, malice, she would be dead. He could easily kill a fucking human being. It's easy. If Greg Hardy was, in a state of rage and he was fucking, someone's done for. So he's saying clearly he wasn't trying to do the most, even though he gets painted as the fucking face of domestic violence. He had like one incident and he's like the face of domestic violence. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, this coach just coming out and kind of putting that out in the air. And I have to agree, because if you think about 265-pound fucking athletic Greg Hardy with malice, there would probably be someone dead. So, I mean, what he's saying makes a lot of sense. He said, I watched Greg Hardy hit grown men and make them limp as a noodle in seconds. If he had any malice the night of the alleged incident, the woman would be dead. I'm used to giving people second chances. Everybody deserves a second chance. The Greg Hardy I know is one of the best living guys I've met down here. Every time I'm walking him to the ring, I hear, you woman beater. I hear nasty things said to him. I don't think he deserves it. I actually agree. Because, of course, everyone deserves a second chance. But like I said, if you have one incident, like anybody that calls Greg Hardy woman beater doesn't know the details, doesn't realize there wasn't much malice clearly. Anybody that just paints him as a woman beater, I just wonder if they've ever made any mistake in their life. Whether it be, because seriously, this is how it happens. And in real life, I've seen this. A man and a woman could be having a dispute that's not physical. The woman goes to throw something. The woman goes to hit him. He grabs her wrist to stop it. Now, police come out, and he hasn't touched her, but so she doesn't go to jail or so she doesn't get in trouble. She's like, look, he hit me. There's marks on my wrist. Both people go to jail. All he did was literally restrain her, grabbing her wrist, and that's enough to go to jail. So if you've even been in an incident like that, you've literally grabbed someone's wrist, is it right to fuck? And that's not, I'm saying what happened here, but what I'm saying is if you made one mistake, what would it be like if you were painted as that the rest of your career? People wanted you to see you not be able to make a living, not have a livelihood. And Shannon Sharp said this on Fox Sports 1 on their show Undisputed one morning a few weeks back, and it really always stuck with me. He was talking about how, people are calling for people to not have a living after one incident. He said, is that the case for doctors, lawyers? It's only public figures. And these are guys that you would think are less measured. And you would expect a athlete who has been an athlete his whole life to maybe, if it goes to a state of anger, to be less measured in a situation like that compared to a lawyer or a doctor or a police officer or any of these dudes who, if they commit domestic violence, that shit ain't labeled as a woman beater. That don't follow them their whole life. That don't make people want them to lose their job. But because this dude's painted, he's a big, athletic athlete. I mean, you say black if you want, because he's an athlete and he's in the public figure, he's painted as a woman beater. It's like, so yeah, for sure he deserves a second chance. And I'm not gonna lie, if you've watched Greg Hardy's interviews recently, he does not. He actually seems kind of like fucking bubbly and enjoyable and comedic. If you've watched Greg Hardy, some of his, like with the Schmo, or just some of his interviews he's done leading up to his most recent fight, I mean, he seems like a pretty enjoyable guy. So, I mean, it is what it is. With that being said, he said, we had a nice talk after he came back from that, and I said, listen, the weigh-in doesn't matter. The pre-fight stare-down doesn't matter. The shit-talking doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is when that buzzer sounds. We tried to slow this thing down. We didn't want this to happen. He doesn't want to be the co-main event. It takes guys 10 years to get to this level, to the UFC. He knows this happened quickly. We know this happened quickly. Management teams are not always on the same page as the trainers. The management people felt he was ready. We have to respect their decision. Greg felt he was ready. I'm going to train him to the best of my ability no matter who they put in front of him. A lot of people made a stink about Greg Hardy being in the co-main event. That's not his fault. If there's anyone that's, you shouldn't have any animosity toward Greg Hardy because of his placement on the card. Because if fucking any fighter that's talked trash about him being on the co-main event, any fighter, doesn't matter who it is, if they were offered a co-main event spot, there would be someone that thinks they didn't deserve it. Now, unless you're some fucking legend in the game already, but what I'm saying is, like, let's say someone like Sean, we can just go look at Jack Hermansson. Boom, he was just a main event. He's a really good fighter, but I guarantee you there are fighters that would argue he shouldn't be a main event. Now, did he get the fight on short notice? Sure, but that happens all the time. There's pay-per-view co-main events. There's fights on pay-per-view cards you see all the time, whether it's Mackenzie Dern. I mean, it's just a promotion. This is a business. This isn't just, you don't make placements on the card, because of how many fights experience you have. Like, it's a business. And also, so what I'm saying is, if the UFC comes up to any fighter, Greg Hardy, Sean O'Malley, fucking Nico Montano, it don't matter who it is, Alexander Hernandez, any fighter, and they offer them a co-main event spot. It's not on a pay-per-view. So it's a free fight card, and they offer him a co-main event spot. What are they supposed to do? Say no, I haven't deserved this? Hey, we'll give you more money, and there will be more people watching your fight if you sign this contract. Every single fighter is going to take it. Now, if you have an issue with it, take it up with the UFC, management, whatever. But that's not a reason to have any more animosity toward Greg Hardy. Because now people are like, oh, he's a woman beater. He gets stuff that he doesn't deserve. I think people kind of are looking at this. If you want to look at it that way, you can, and just be angry about it. But I think that's the wrong way to look at this. So it is what it is. We will move on from that topic. But Greg Hardy's coach coming out, and he's got some words. Chris Weidman responded to Jack Hermansson's call out. Speaking of Jack Hermansson, who recently defeated Jacare Souza over the weekend, Chris Weidman, I talked about this a little bit on the video, so I'm not going to do too much on it, but he's just confidently responding like, what? Is this motherfucker serious? And to call out Chris Weidman takes some testicular fortitude. It takes some stones. He's a nightmare matchup for almost everybody. He's a bad matchup for a lot of guys. Only the best of the best are really going to be able to beat Chris Weidman in this division. Similar to Jacare. Jack Hermansson just got a W over Jacare. So, if you put together MMA math, Jack Hermansson should be able to beat Chris Weidman, right? Of course, it's a possibility because Jack Hermansson is a really good fighter, but MMA math doesn't work like that. The equations don't play out always. And so, Chris Weidman, I think, is looking at this as a great opportunity. Hey, this guy's just fought in the main event, beat the guy that beat me. It's not a terrible matchup. I'd love that fight. Let's do it. Give me a time. Give me a date. I just heard him call me out. Say no more. So we might be seeing Weidman versus Hermansson on the horizon. Ronaldo Jacare Souza issuing a statement after his loss to Jack Hermansson. He said, I'd love to thank everybody for their support. My opponent had a good strategy and won. Right after the fight, I was very upset and disappointed, but now God has been comforting my heart, and even though I didn't win, I don't feel sad anymore. I glorify the Lord for this. I want to thank everyone who believed in my work and supports me. I'm taking some time to rest with my family, and I will be back soon. Cannot wait. I still think, despite the loss, Jacare is one fight away from the title fight, honestly. And I say that, clearly it depends on who. If he fights fucking David Branch next, which is a fight I would love to see, I don't think it's a title shot. But if he fights Yoel Romero or the Kelvin, he already fought Gastelum. If he fights Yoel Romero, he could rematch Kelvin though. Or the loser of, say, Adesanya versus Whitaker, you're one fight away. Yeah, you lost that fight to Jack Hermansson, but you didn't lose a lot of favor with the fans, for one, because you did take it on short notice, and for two, the company, because Jacare helped the UFC out by staying on that card. He talked about before the fight, he was risking his career by staying on the card and fighting Hermansson. Jacare's paid his dues. He don't have years left under his belt to chase the title. He needs fights that matter, that are going to get him to the title at this point. So the fact that he stayed on the card and fought Hermansson on short notice, that's how, and saved the main event after they couldn't book Paulo Costa and after Yoel Romero fell out with his illness. Jacare stayed on and saved the card, and he lost. But still, you got to think he's in good favor with the UFC for that. So I really think if he can fight Yoel Romero, beat Yoel Romero, or if he fights Israel Adesanya, beats Israel Adesanya, or Whitaker beats Whitaker, he's one fight away from the title, regardless of that loss. So looking forward to seeing Jacare's comeback. Hopefully it's a big fight because I would like to see him fight for that UFC title. And we just seen him beat Chris Weidman, who's a nightmare matchup for just about everybody. So we know he can beat the best of the best in the division, regardless of that slip-up versus Hermansson. Korean Zombie versus Renato Moicano agreed to for UFC Greenville. It's agreed to. It's not official. Both fighters have agreed to the fight, though. This is a great featherweight clash, a banger. I mean, Korean Zombie, Renato Moicano, two of the top-ranked featherweights in the world. I believe Renato Moicano is ranked like 4, Korean Zombie's ranked like 10, so big opportunity for the Korean Zombie, whose career has been sidetracked a little bit because of his military service, for his country. I mean, he was a contender for a while, and he had to go away for like 2 years, and I think he went back for another stint. So, I mean, he's a really good fighter, but his UFC aspirations have never really been able to be realized because of, his military service. But hey, if you look at the featherweight division, Renato Moicano, he's up there. I mean, you got Volkanovski, you got Renato Moicano, Frankie Edgar, Brian Ortega. This featherweight division's starting to build up with some killers, while Max Holloway, does his thug dizzle and moves around divisions. He just went up and fought Dustin Poirier in that interim title fight. And so, the division is kind of stagnant while he heals up from that fight, while he prepared for that fight. But what that's doing is making us a stacked division. I mean, that in any division where there's a champion jumping around, jumping divisions, or injured, or taking a break, what it does is it makes the top 5 stacked. I mean, back whenever Bisping and GSP were holding up the middleweight division, you had Yoel Romero, Luke Rockhold, Chris Weidman, Jacare, Robert Whittaker. It was just getting stacked, just nothing but sharks. Same with lightweight, Khabib, Ferguson, Poirier, Alvarez, Gaethje, just getting stacked while Conor and these guys were messing around, stalling up the division. That's happening at featherweight now. Ortega, Edgar, Volkanovski, Moicano, Zabit, Jeremy Stevens, if Korean Zombie wins this fight, he's in the mix. I mean, that's one of the bright sides of a champion, stalling up a division. And it's not good for a fighter if you're trying to get a title shot, but as a fan, it gives you just so many insane fucking fights. Like, if you look at the lightweight division, right, just this weekend, we got Ally Quinta versus Cowboy coming up. I seen Chael Sonnen do a video how Tony Ferguson could fight the winner of that fight. Like, just killer matchups. And then the winner of that might have to fight McGregor. None of these are title fights. Like, it's not good if you're a fighter trying to get a title fight. But for fans, we got fucking just amazing matchups in these divisions that can be made whether it's a title fight or not. The only thing missing is the actual belt. But I mean, that's just the optic of the belt for casual fans. As far as the value of the fight is concerned, I mean, Ferguson versus Gaethje or Ferguson versus McGregor. What's the difference in any of those in a title fight? Ferguson versus Iaquinta. Ferguson versus Cowboy. I mean, those are all phenomenal fights. So, Korean Zombie is going to see if he can shake up that top 10 of the featherweight division with this scrap with Renato Moicano. But Renato Moicano's on another level right now, so it's going to be a tough matchup for the Korean Zombie for sure. Now, with that being said, I'm going to pull up the chat, chop it up with the full-time family just for a little minute, and then talk about this weekend's fights. And I'll be out your hair. We got Stamina MC in here. FT, these are terrible takes. I got to go out, otherwise I disassemble most of what you're saying here. Stamina, you're funny, man. Oh, Mr. Stamina MC. He said, these are terrible takes. I would love to have a panel and just completely disassemble what Stamina. You already know, man. When it comes to me and you, usually we go into the point to where we agree to disagree, because you try and take apart my terrible takes, and then you come around to realize, okay, they're not so terrible. It's just a difference in perspective. But you know what I'm saying? I would love to have you on and hear your counter argument. Hermansson's performance against Jacare was very impressive at PK Boxing and MMA. Going for a meal, 6 p.m. link, says Stamina MC. Jacare versus Branch, says Mr. Perfect 2005. Yeah, I'd still love to see that fight as well. Jacare is a top middleweight, says PK Boxing and MMA. See, you want to hear some good takes? Check out PK Boxing and MMA. He's also got the hot takes like your boy Full-Time MMA. But hey, if they're terrible takes, I hope they're at least entertaining. I don't care if you agree with them or not. I hope they at least make you go, what the fuck? And you know, at least make your mind work, whether you agree or not. The division would be even crazier. We need Gegard back. Oh, my motherfucking boy Gegard. Man, he needs to get back in action. I can't wait to see Gegard fighting again. If he was in this middleweight division, that would be fun. Blaze One Sports says, what up, Full-Time? Reverb Twang. What up, guys? What's going on, Reverb Twang? Blaze One Sports. PK Boxing MMA says, UFC Yankovic, where does Conor fit into this? Is he going to come right back and fight Dustin? That's a good question. I mean, Conor McGregor, he wants the title fight. We know that. He has, I believe, said he's willing to fight in a co-main if it was going to get him the title shot next. I mean, I don't see Conor coming back and fighting like... If he fights Dustin, it'll be because Dustin's the champion. Unless he comes back and fights Dustin as the interim champ, if he's just ready to go, right? The only way that happens is if, because Khabib's suspension, I believe, is 2-3 months longer than Conor's, only because he didn't want to do like the PSA, the anti-bullying PSA, or he could have made it the same amount. But I don't think he ever did that PSA, so he's got a couple months longer than Conor. With that being said, it'll depend on what Conor's management, the UFC, and all of them want to do with as far as Conor's next fight. Do they want a warm-up fight? And when I say a warm-up fight, I mean a fight before Khabib, or do they want to get right back in there? If they want to get right back in there and fight Khabib, I think they'll wait. I think they'll wait it out, let stuff shake. Okay, Khabib fight Poirier, and then jump in. But if he wants a fight before then, I do think that the only fight he would take is probably Poirier, because it's the only one that's going to guarantee him the next title shot. I mean, of course, he could fight Cowboy. I mean, he could fight somebody else if he decides to, you know, or if the UFC wants to make Poirier versus Khabib first. Now, there's so many monkey wrenches and things that can happen because listening to Chael Sonnen, he's talked about the possibility of Khabib versus McGregor in Abu Dhabi. The UFC did just do a new deal with Abu Dhabi, I believe, to where they're going to have a big fight there this year for sure. And also for like the next 5 years, they're going to have at least one pay-per-view in Abu Dhabi. And so I'm under the impression that the UFC would like Khabib to fight in Abu Dhabi. Who's his opponent going to be? Sure, of course, Dustin Poirier would love it. The biggest fight possible is McGregor. I don't know how the UFC would go about, you know, getting that title off of Dustin Poirier, the interim title. I mean, we had an interim champion in the past, Tony Ferguson. He tripped over a cord, and that opened up McGregor versus Khabib, or else that would have been, you know, that fight would have happened. I don't think Dustin Poirier is going to trip over a cord, you know, leading up to this fight. So unless the UFC just, you know, somehow can get that title off of Dustin Poirier, I don't see how they could book McGregor versus Khabib in Abu Dhabi right now. So, but that is something that's been talked about. If not, it's probably Khabib versus Poirier in Abu Dhabi. I mean, there's just a lot of things that can happen, but we'll see. As far as McGregor's concerned, he's probably going to be Artem Lobov's corner man when he fights Paulie, you know, in the meantime. But he's still got time before he's unsuspended. So really, we'll have to see. He's got so many options always. It could be Floyd Mayweather. It could be Tenshin Nasukawa. It could be Paulie. It could be, I mean, Cowboy, Nate, fucking Iaquinta. I mean, Conor's got options, so it's hard to really gauge where he's going to be. War Musasi, says PK Boxing and MMA. Yes, sir. War the Moose. Now, let's talk about this weekend's fights. Take a quick look at the entire card, not just the main card. We got Iaquinta versus Donald Cerrone, of course, we've talked about in depth. Derek Brunson, Elias Theodorou, two of the top 15 ranked middleweights in the world. Derek Brunson, I feel like still, and I don't want to say underrated because I kind of think he is what he is. I'm not sure if he's going to fight for the title ever or in the future. It's a possibility, but the middleweight division is stacked. So I think you could probably write him off at this point as a middleweight gatekeeper, but still definitely worthy of the top 10 spot. So I do think it's going to be a tough fight for Elias Theodorou, but I am looking forward to see how it plays out. Cub Swanson, the California Kid, Killer Cub. Yo, people trip me out sometimes. I called him the California Kid. They were like, hey, wait, he's not the California Kid. That's Uriah Faber. Like, they were trying to, like, one-up me. Like, did you not know that he's not actually nicknamed the California Kid? Yeah, bud. I called Jason Knight Mississippi Mean, fuck you mean, Jason Bite, Hit Diaz. I know his nickname is technically the Kid. Cub Swanson has a big SoCal tattooed and a palm tree tattooed all over his body, so I think it's fair to call him the California Kid. I mean, he's clearly not a kid. He's 35 years old now, but neither is Uriah Faber. So, with that being said, yes, I was aware that his nickname is not actually the California Kid. But I mean, if you're just flowing off the top, and you see a big SoCal palm tree, I think it's fair to call that guy. I mean, if you had a tattoo on your chest that said SoCal or NorCal and a palm tree, I would call you the California Kid eventually. PK Boxing MMA says that would be so dirty if they just lifted that belt off of Dustin and made Khabib versus Conor. Wouldn't surprise me though. Oh, it would be dirty. It would be. Yeah, Dustin. I know you got that belt and all, but this is business, baby. I mean, honestly, you could work something like that out if you paid Dustin. I'm sure if you told Dustin, hey man, like let's say his salary is $100,000. We'll give you $125,000 to just let us make this fight and don't complain and whatever. We'll give you this money because the UFC can then make millions off of it. Like we can, I'm sure stuff like that happens all the time. Like, hey, this fight makes more sense. They don't just completely shit on the fighter that gets taken out of the fight. A lot of the time they're compensated for that. So, I mean, maybe there's something you could do. But Dustin Poirier doesn't strike me really as someone that, if it's worth it, they are prize fighters. But I'm just saying, Dustin Poirier strikes me as somebody that wants that title. He wants the gold. He wants to be the best in the world. He's not really just in it for the money. So it would be hard, but I don't know. But yeah, it would be crazy. Yeah, they'd have to pay him some real nice step-aside money, as you say. But yeah, it'd have to be real nice, So with that being said, we also got Brad Katona versus Merab Dvalishvili on the card. That's a fight I'm looking forward to. Brad Katona, undefeated prospect, fighting at featherweight and bantamweight out of SBG. He's Canadian, fighting the team SBG. Won the season of the Ultimate Fighter at featherweight. Now he's a bantamweight. He's a good fighter. But so is Merab Dvalishvili. He trains with some of the best fighters in the world, Aljamain Sterling, Ally Aquinta, in his respective division. Arguably a better fight team. You could look at the results of the fighters from Cerrone, and they've just been way better than the guys from SBG. Outside of Conor McGregor, you can't really name anybody that's UFC caliber out of SBG. Meanwhile, Cerrone's got the best in the world, arguably, in their respective divisions. Guys that could make a case for a title shot. Ally Aquinta, Aljamain Sterling. Those guys, barring, one or two fights, could easily be the best in the world. So, Merab also looked good in his fights. He's got 2 losses, but they're both could really be wins. One was a split decision, and the other one was, just the weirdest stoppage ever. His feet were still kicking when the bell rang, and they ruled that he was out, and he won all 3 rounds. So Merab's really good despite his resume, so I really am looking forward to that fight. I like Merab. Let's get 10 for 10, says Leon Dubison. UFC probably paid Dustin to have a rematch as I'm him. I mean, it's just a possibility. They might not even have to. I mean, Khabib versus Dustin could happen. Dustin, you know what I'm saying? And then it's not a terrible matchup for Khabib. They could just say, all right, fight first, and then Khabib could win the fight. And boom, then we have the rematch. Only 3 more likes needed, says Leon Dubson. Let's go. We got 10 people watching on our second channel, of course, for the next 18 days, man. We had a 3-month suspension that was up on May 20th. So in about 18 days, we'll be able to stream on our main channel again. That being said, I appreciate that, Leon Dubson. Walt Harris versus Sergey Spivak. Don't know much about Sergey Spivak. Walt Harris, number 9th ranked heavyweight, coming to fight Sergey, who's making his UFC debut. Another UFC debutee. I don't even know if that's a word, debutee. Marc-Andre Barriault taking on Andrew Sanchez, who's actually got, some pretty talented wrestling. He's a pretty good wrestler. So I like a pretty good UFC caliber wrestler against someone making their debut. But now let's take a look at the prelims, because whenever I do my breakdowns and predictions, I always focus on the main card, and I don't really put much light on the prelims. But if you take a look, we got Macy Chiasson versus Cheesecake Sarah Moras. That's a fun fight. Ayamin Zahabi versus Vince Morales. Nordine Taleb versus Sayer Bahadurzada. That's pretty interesting to be this early on the card. Kyle Nelson, Matt Sales. Arj Singh Bhullar versus Juan Adams. Arj Singh Bhullar, I think, is fighting out of American Top Team. He looked pretty good in his last fight. Mitch Ganone versus Cole Smith. And then what? Are there no fight past prelims? Okay. It is what it is. That's the prelims. So, yeah, man, that's the fight cards coming up this Saturday. Of course, we'll be doing the live fight companion here on UFC Yankovic and also on sportsbooth.tv. And yeah, with that being said, that's all I got for today's show. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If so, smash the thumbs up button. If you're listening to the replay or the live version, make sure you subscribe to our main channel, Full Time MMA. Smash the thumbs up button like your middle name is Khabib. Subscribe to our backup channel, UFC Yankovic. Join the Full Time Family Discord. I had someone make one of those for me a long time ago. One of our old sponsors of the channel. I just never really knew how to use Discord. But Stamina MC came through and really showed me the benefit of Discord and kind of like opened my eyes to it. Like, oh, this makes a lot of sense. This would be a great place to have the full-time family, the chat going, even when we're not live, even when we're not on YouTube. It's just always like the full-time family group chat, but permanently on Discord. So join it. Click the link in the description. Boba Fett says Cowboy win via submission. Hey, we will see. It's going to be a good fight. Let the full-time family know what you think in the comments. I'm out.